All right, guys. Happy New Year. 2023 is here. The Shillan Duffy Show, first recap of the year. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan, being brought to you, of course, by Sherdog.com. It's called the Shillan and Duffy Show, which means my co-host Ben Duffy is usually here, but he did his best. Kelvin Gastelum, he was scheduled. He didn't show up. Coming in, starting the year off, doing his best, Sean Strickland. It's Dev Goes Fishing. Dev, how you doing, man? Happy New Year.
Good, man. You can call me Sean Strickland, but my political views don't always align with his.
All right. See you later. See you later, Dev. All right. Let's. All right.
Good way to start off the year. Just like Sajara Eubanks.
Yeah. All right, we'll get right into it. We got 11 fights. Me and Ben did the preview this week. If you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you check that out. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that stuff that all the other shows beg people to do that me and Ben always forget to ask people to do. So make sure you do that, share, and all that stuff. We'll get right into it. Probably not the longest show. There's not going to be too much to talk about compared to other weeks. Plus, not going to lie, I was kind of peeking my eye over to the NFL playoffs a little bit. But we had two blowouts today. Let's get right into it. 11 fights. Kelvin Gastelum was supposed to fight Nassourdine Imavov before Sean Strickland came in on like 5 or 6 days notice. I think it was Monday. I think Ben posted the preview, and like an hour later, Sean Strickland came in. Ben never messaged me about doing the main event, so we just left it up there. It is what it is. Dev, let me ask you this, and I'll throw it to the chat, and shout out to all the guys in the chat. We just ask that you guys, obviously, if you've never been here before, just be kind to everybody in the chat. Go after the argument, not after the person. We try to post a lot of comments. We try to respond to a lot of comments. So tell me, guys, did you prefer the Gastelum fight or did you prefer the Strickland fight? Obviously, now hindsight, we know how the fight went, and I thought it was a pretty entertaining fight. But going in, would you rather had Imavov facing Kelvin Gastelum, or would you rather have him facing Sean Strickland?
If you wanted Imavov to have the best chance of winning, it was against Gastelum. But in the same sense, if you wanted to promote a French UFC star, shooting him up in the rankings from 13 to 7, was also a good opportunity. I think Kelvin was probably a more winnable fight, but after seeing this fight, I don't know if Nassourdine would have won that fight either. He seemed really hittable tonight.
Sorry, I'm muted. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I rather had the Gastelum fight. I'll tell you why. Because I did the preview for that one. I did tape study, so you kind of like talk yourself into a excitement for a fight and stuff like that. So that's why I was looking forward to that. Strickland's last couple fights kind of been lackluster. Even like the Cannonier fight was pretty crappy. This fight obviously was a lot better. I definitely think it was a tougher test for Imavov. And you talked about Imavov being hittable. He lost a unanimous decision to Sean Strickland. Let me ask you, how did you score the fight?
Okay, let me go to my notes here. I scored 1, 3, and 4 for Strickland clear. 2 and 5 were like close rounds. 5th was probably the closest for Nassourdine, probably damage-wise, just because he wasn't landing those elbows like in the clinch and stuff like that. And he really went for it. For a guy that's never fought 5 rounds, and it looked like in the 4th round, I was like, Sean could finish him here. He looked gassed, and I was surprised to see Nassourdine, go for it the way he did. But with his style, he doesn't have great defense, and he kind of relies on his explosivity. I think we saw the top of the mountain for him today. And, unless he adds a lot of new tools to his tool set, it just might be too big for him to climb.
Yeah, I had it 48-47, and off the 2 rounds that you said were close. I actually gave them off the 2nd and the 5th. I'm okay. I'm okay with like a 50-45 for Strickland. I thought the first round was competitive, but I thought Strickland won. I thought the best rounds of Strickland was the 3rd and the 4th, especially the 3rd round. That's what it really seemed like he was trying to pull away. I think, and I don't know if it was Strickland's like superior game planning, or it was more Imavov not ability to adjust, or a little bit of both. But I thought, like, again, so I'm saying I don't know if I'm giving credit to Strickland, or if I'm saying like Imavov showed his inexperience, a big fighting experience. I thought Strickland got Imavov to fight, and shout out to Dominic Cruz. I thought he was really good on this. Fought him exactly how he wanted. He fought him in the range. He got him in that like mid range. I wouldn't say the pocket, but like the mid range to really took away Imavov's kicks, which was obviously a big strength of Imavov. I think he was pressing him, forcing him on his back foot, which again will zap your punching power, will zap your kicking power. And when you're in that mid range, it's just hard to throw kicks anyways, because you're so open to, because you want to be able to kick without being countered with a punch. And he wasn't in that case. And the other thing that Strickland did, which was absolutely brilliant, is he really came out with a Philly shell. If you people aren't familiar, that's where the head, it's kind of hard. I can't do it on, but yeah, arm across your body. Other one kind of like almost like so Floyd Mayweather does it a lot, kind of leaving the head open, forcing them to kind of want to headhunt, which is perfect against Imavov because his biggest strength is his kick, especially his kicks to the body, his kicks to the legs, and force him on his back foot. I thought it was brilliant by Strickland. And Strickland, he had a lot of balls to take a fight coming in. Like we said, I think it was, Sunday or Monday. No, it was already, so the news broke Monday. When it really changed, who knows? But the news broke Monday. But anyway, within a week's notice coming in, could have taken another loss to a guy lower in the ranks than him. Again, I know this was actually at 205 instead of 195. But this is the perfect way, because he would have been buried if he lost. You lose, you get knocked out by Alex Pereira, you lose to Jared Cannonier, then you lose Nassourdine Imavov. You're not even in the ranking, you're not even in the picture. No, this is the perfect way to turn it right around. 2022 ended wrong. 2023 ended correctly for him. Let me ask you this. The 10 pounds, they agreed to fight at 205. Strickland came in at 205 or, something like that. And I think Imavov was like 194. How much of a difference do you think those 10 pounds mattered?
It's weird because in the moments where you would think it mattered, even though Sean was pushing Nassourdine up against the cage, Nassourdine was landing the better elbows on the clinch breaks. So in the moments where you thought the weight would actually make a difference, I would say Nassourdine actually probably won those moments. Sean did his best work, like you said, at mid-range. I think his stabbing teep kick to the body actually played dividends in this. I think he uses that to break up the rhythm. Nassourdine, the way he ambushes with his offense, he just tries to leap into the pocket. And I wrote this down in my notes. Sean Strickland's so unorthodox. I really like Sean Strickland just because it shouldn't work. When you watch him fight, it's broken. It doesn't. If I tried it, if you tried it, if anyone else tried it, it wouldn't work. For whatever reason, it works for him. His defense, he's got so many different layers. He hand fights really well. He hand fought really, really well. His hand trapping is really good. And then he pillars really well. I know you hate pillaring. But he deflects, he kind of
So he doesn't really pillar. He
just like it's like Wing Chun weird.
He parries punches, which I love. So pillaring is more blocking like this. He parries like this.
And then as third layer after that is, like you said, he was shoulder rolling a lot. Like he didn't get hit really clean. There was moments, I would say Imavov maybe hit him 3 times around clean at best. And Sean would hit him three times in the combination. Sean actually lit him up. He did really, really well. Those punch stats that they show you the punch stats per round. And when I look at those, I'm like, that is not accurate. That's so inaccurate. Sean is getting hit with he's deflecting shots and rolling with shots, and Imavov is getting hit clean.
I hate those because not all strikes are equal, and I always tell everyone, like, how you want to see stats are not equal. Go back to UFC 200 when Jose Aldo fought Frankie Edgar for the second time. And I remember the stats were almost identical. I think Jose Aldo landed one more significant strike than Frank Edgar, but nobody scored it as a close fight. But like, if you just look at the stats, you're like, wow, what a really close fight. Like, how would you pick a winner? And not all strikes are equal. And like you said, Strickland was landing clean while a lot of Imavov was deflected. And I hate that. And you have one person clicking a button somewhere. So
they shouldn't show him. There's just no, and I understand you want to give out some sort of statistic because it's a sport And maybe that's why like the PFL does a miles per hour thing, but like a clean shot versus a not a clean shot, but then you score it the same, and you don't score it the same, but you take it as data and you present it as data as something that's the same when they just don't equal the same. It's like a hammer versus a slap.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. Yeah, it's like what I want my I could hit my kid with my hand to punish them, or I could hit them with a baseball bat. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Both a significant strike, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So go back to the 10 pounds. Yeah, we both kind of feel the same exact way. Two points I want to say, and you already hit the first point, is if this was a very heavy wrestling fight where, and we had moments of them clinching, but not often. It was mostly a kickboxing match, a mid-range kickboxing match. If we had big moments of that, or even just big moments early on where that could have drained Imavov, then I'd say, yeah, the 10 pounds made a big difference. But I don't think it did. And the other thing, the 10 pounds, there's no one to blame. This isn't a Li Jingliang situation where he weighs in at his said weight and then they change it on him. No. He agreed to fight Strickland at 205.
I agree.
So it's on him for coming in. If you know you're going to be so much lower, you say, hey, dude, I'll do 195. I'm not doing 205.
Yeah, or make him cut to 200. Make him cut 4 more pounds.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Whatever it is. Yeah, whatever you want to purposely come 10 pounds under. I don't know.
And he said that he usually walked. They said I think it was Felder said that he usually, or maybe it was Fitzgerald, said that he usually walks around at 200 pounds. Everybody, I'm on social media with any MMA stuff. Just kind of, I like to do a lot of reading on what people have to say. And a lot of people are like, look how big Nassourdine is during the face-offs. But he's 6'3" and he's got a 75-inch reach. He might have the shortest reach for anyone that's 6'3" or taller in the UFC. I don't know that to be true, but he's 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. And his legs are only about that big around. Like Sean's legs were much huger when he was pushing him against the cage. But again,
every time you talk, I see that punching bag behind you. I want it to be like one of these demonstrations. All right, now show us a demonstration of what he was doing as he. Yeah.
This is what happens when you live in an apartment. You have to consolidate your home office, your man cave, and the place where you try to work out all in the same place. It's really fun.
All right, let's get into what to do with these guys. I don't think it was a bad thing for the UFC for Strickland win. I'll tell you why. One, he's a character. Like, say what you want about him. Yeah. He's not the most exciting fighter, though. I thought this fight was pretty exciting, pretty entertaining. But he's gonna say something, even afterwards with the Trump 2024 and all this. Like, just he does things to get under people's skin to get them talking. Even like when he was a week ago when he was bashing people for making tributes to Stephan Bonner and stuff like this. But when he was fighting Alex Pereira, no one was talking about Alex Pereira, and Alex Pereira was the guy who beat Israel Adesanya on the same card. People were talking about what Strickland was saying, Yeah. So I think that's good. But the other reason why I think it's good, it's because Imavov is 26 years old. That you didn't tonight. If Strickland lost, you would have buried one guy, and the other guy would have catapulted. Now this way, I think one guy, loses a little bit of shine, but doesn't completely fall down, and he's so young. So I think they can have like two guys can win out of this. Like if 2 years from now, Imavov's fighting the top 5 guys, like that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, especially middleweight.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to say, which is a perfect example for Imavov, he can learn from these mistakes and see what he did wrong. Like he's the quicker guy, more athletic. I mean, when you see Sean Strickland, he's not a great athlete.
No.
Imavov is. He needs to use that movement, be in the range, kind of, walking Strickland, like, Strickland slowly plotting kind of guy. Get a further range, keep kicking him, push him back, highly home side kick, flying knee up the middle, stuff like that. He needs to do more like a Corey Sandhagen style than the way he fought this. And the other perfect example, look at what Strickland did against Cannonier to this one. And it was simply like, dude, you just got to let your hands go more. because the Cannonier fight was like, it was right there for you to take it.
I scored that fight for Strickland.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. But I'm saying, like, he was stuck in like second gear. If you put it to fourth gear, he might have won that fight.
One thing I like about him is he's very clear and he's very transparent with how he feels mentally. And after this fight, I listened to the post fight because it's Sean Strickland. You've got to listen to the post fight. And he's like, I don't want to be known as a pussy. These are his words. He's like, I fought like a pussy against Cannonier. If he would have fought the way he fought tonight against Cannonier, he would have won. I thought he won already, but I feel like it would have been very clear, especially with a camp and cardio. Sean gassed a little bit in the 5th round, and this is like the first time I actually saw him kind of gas out in the 5-round fight. But again, he came in at over 200 pounds off the couch. And then, for Imavov moving forward, like you said, I think he needs to learn how to harness his athletic ability and, maybe learn some Japanese. And maybe his style would work against someone that's just not as weird and elusive and unorthodox as Sean Strickland. Like, you can throw a barrage of shots at Sean, and like, unless you're throwing a 4 to 5 punch combination and going to the body, like, you might not hit him clean at all. Like, he's just so weird. He's got, like a spider web of weird defense. His defense is so strange. And it just works for him. Like, rear hand parrying, nobody would ever tell you to do that. You get kicked out of a boxing gym if you did that.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. Yeah. Parry is dangerous altogether because you got to reach in a little bit, but I do prefer parrying anyways. Strickland moving forward, it's tough to matchmake him because of those losses he had. If he beat Cannonier, like, we could honestly be arguing for a title shot against Pereira rematch. I don't know if I would do that. I'd probably go more like an Israel Adesanya, like have them two guys talking.
Oh, that's the fight. Even now, maybe.
Well,
give Izzy a win.
I'm okay with it. I'm 100% okay with it. I really don't think, and I know I know I would say, oh, it wasn't MMA, but one guy's up 3-0 in combat sports. Like, how many times you got him running back?
With two pretty vicious finishes. 2
knockouts in a row. Sure, Adesanya was winning both those fights. I think he won the first. I don't think I thought it was a robbery, his first fight against Alex Pereira. That said, like, it's hard to really resell it now. I mean, I guess you could say Adesanya, the champion, long-reigning champion, was winning. This is the kryptonite. His way is finally getting over the hump, something like that. Sure. I also think it's going to be hard to sell no matter who's facing Pereira, Robert Whittaker or Jared Cannonier or something like this. But on the flip side, as Pereira, that's actually the fight I want. I want Volkanovski because stylistically, that's your best matchup.
Yeah. If you are an Israel Adesanya fan, you would probably want him to fight Sean Strickland before going back to fight Pereira. Izzy's known to be a guy that, he talks a certain way, but I don't really know where Izzy's confidence is. And you winning a fight, get viciously knocked out, and then it happens all over again. If you're an Izzy fan, you'd want him to get a win. And I think a guy like Sean Strickland's a winnable fight for Izzy, just because his wrestling defense is so good and the way that Sean hand fights and stuff. Izzy might be the worst matchup in the division for him, even over Pereira, because Pereira can't really grapple.
Yeah, no, I think Izzy absolutely starches Sean Strickland. I think he knocks him on the first round.
And
maybe second round. He's a little bit of slow, so maybe second round.
And for Strickland, like, he's in camp with Marvin Vettori. They seem to be buddies. Marvin Vettori and him have been making a bunch of posts together on social media. Lord knows those guys would still fight each other because they're the two, most far out dudes in that division. Brunson's fighting Duplessis. Maybe Strickland can fight the winner of that. If Duplessis beats Brunson, he deserves that fight.
Yeah. So I went with I'm okay with it. Is Izzy Adesanya's fight? If they want to do that, I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do Izzy going against Pereira again. But if they don't, I literally just look at the rankings. I'm like, who's available?
Yeah.
And Bahia was available. And I'm like, you know what? That guy deserves a step up in competition, a main event, like a fight night main event. So that's what I do with him. Moving over to Imavov. I thought about doing the Gastelum fight. Like, just like, hey. But to me, he lost a little bit of shine. Like, you lost. You took a chance. I'm not giving you a name like as big of a name. I'm actually going to give him, I think, probably a tougher fight, but one that's not as big of a name. And it wouldn't be a fight night main event now. It might be like co-main event or, prelim, the headlining prelim fight of a good pay-per-view. And I'm calling him Chris Curtis. Face Sean Strickland's teammate. I think that'd be a really fun fight. Stylistic boxer versus kickboxer. Curtis has been on a run and kind of deserves a bigger fight like that. That's what I would do. Yeah,
that's exactly what I've got. Chris Curtis. Strickland and Chris Curtis have been doing this to guys too. Like they did it to Brendan Allen. Let's see if they can do it to Nassourdine.
Yeah, that's what I would do. You know what's funny? A really fun fight, I think, would be Curtis versus Strickland. I know they're beyond teammates. They were like best friends and they corner each other and all this stuff. I mean, Curtis was in his corner tonight. But stylistically, I think that'd be a really fun. It would be a really fun fight.
I think so too.
Let's get some like Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty. There you go. There's my WF reference. Let's get Strickland to turn on Curtis. Curtis had to be the Marty Jannetty. He'd have to be the good guy.
He is the good. Well, no, he's actually been the bad guy too.
Yeah, a little bit, but not. But I'm saying compared to Strickland.
Yeah. No, he's an angel. We could just go to the gym and watch them fight.
Yeah, I know. That'd be fun.
They fight in the gym. Yeah,
I mean, as long as they sprawl it all the way out and put on little gloves and do it, that'd be fun.
They have to. That's probably why they're so close, because they probably beat the piss out of each other so many times that they're just I either have to hate this dude or I have to love this dude. And I think they chose, they chose to be friends.
Yeah, I get it. My main wrestling partner growing up is my very best friend. I hung out with him last night. He's my very best friend. My kids call him Uncle Mike. So I get it. And we beat the shit out of it. We have permanent injuries. We have permanent injuries from working with each other. You know what I mean? Like, I wake up in the morning, my back hurts. I'm like, fucking Mike, throwing that whizzer on me, All right, moving on. Co-main event. We kind of had one guy rising up the rankings, one guy kind of crashing down, kind of meeting in that pack. Dan Ige versus Damian Jackson. Dan Ige starched Damian Jackson. I feel Jackson almost fought a lot like Imavov, where in the sense of he did everything he shouldn't have done, like circling the outer cage against the shorter guy and letting him get inside and throw bombs, who's always been an accurate puncher, always had kind of good power, always been a very underrated grappler. Like, you set up everything easy for him. And the thing about Damian Jackson, it's kind of two things that go with him. He beats you with volume, and then he's not your Jordan Burroughs drive through your hips kind of wrestler. He's more of a Ben Askren, get something to happen, scramble around, get some weird positions, and after the scramble, Damian Jackson ends up on your back or ends up on the top position. None of that was happening. I think he shot like one shot, never pressed his wrestling, never pressed his output, circled down the cage, and just basically was a punching bag for Dan Ige.
And the weird thing was, especially a guy like Dan Ige, that like you have, as a fighter, I also think you have to take into consideration not just the person's skill set, but like, what does this guy have to lose? Where is this guy at in his career? How is he going to fight? Is he going to fight desperate? Damian Jackson, in his head, he had to know that, in the rankings, he was a step back compared to everyone else that Ige fought. Ige hadn't won a fight in 2 years. You've got to know this guy's going to probably go for it, especially a guy that's as durable as him. His corner even told him, get the hell off the back of the cage. You're going to get knocked out. His corner told him that. And any little moment where Damian Jackson went forward, he actually had success, but then he would just take the back foot. He would go forward, maybe throw there was one really nice, like 4-punch combination he landed where he decided to go forward and throw. Dan Ige just shelled up and he got hit with a bunch of punches. And then Damian Jackson just laid off the volume, took the back foot, continued to circle. Ige showed really good footwork. He was trapping him, and went to the body really well, and
body work, yeah.
He was just fucking sitting down on everything.
Yeah, if I was cornering Damian Jackson, I would have been saying a lot of teep kicks, forcing him on his back foot with the teep kicks, trying to get it from there, get him towards the cage, try to clinch, use your size in that clinch, work the body in the clinch, drop down on the legs, make him wrestle, do little slide bys in the clinch, stuff like that to try to get his back, kind of grind on him. Even though Dan Ige, he's not a guy that's gassed out in the past. We've seen him go very heavy grappling matches and be fine. But still, like standing in a kickboxing, or not even kickboxing, it was more of a boxing range. So that's why, again, Jackson couldn't throw those long legs, nothing. To me, it was a terrible pick. Just to answer Anna's question, who did I pick? I don't know if you're talking about this fight or the last fight. So the last fight, when me and Ben did the preview, it was still Gastelum, so I didn't have an official pick for that. As far as this fight, I picked Ige ahead of time, so that was actually one of my best picks of the night. I felt like this when I watched it. Besides Jackson doing everything wrong, I said this on the preview, and I still kind of feel this way. When you go down the top featherweights and you say, okay, here's the cutoff of the top guys, and you got to do this every weight class. There's obviously a cutoff.
Yeah.
Ige's that whatever number, 8, 12, 14, whatever. Like Ige's that last guy. Like to me, he showed that he's still there. Now he's not the upper part of those guys. Obviously, the Volkanovskis and guys like that, but he's that next tier down. But still, he showed that he's not a mid card guy. He's a up top of the at least for a little bit while longer. He's still a top of the card kind of guy. You agree or disagree?
No, I agree with you. And look at his fight with Josh Emmett. He got dropped by Josh Emmett and came back and had a razor close fight. He's going to have close fights he can have a close fight with any of those guys. If
he fought Josh Emmett again, like I would pick Emmett, but like it wouldn't shock me if he beat Emmett.
Yeah, he might beat him by a hair in a razor close decision, and I would not be shocked. What I really liked about what Dan did in this fight is he really sat on his shots. Even tonight, he really, really sat down on his punches. And a guy like him that, has a lot to lose, where if he takes another L, like who knows where his career's at. He's not in the top 15 anymore. Wow. One more after that, he might be gone from the UFC. And for Damon Jackson, to go back on his just, I think it was really poor game planning. He needs to fight like a tsunami. He needs to just come and fight you like a flood and just, put so much offense in front of you and then mix in his wrestling and just overwhelm you. And he didn't do that. He used to be the leech. That should tell you everything.
Yeah. He fight at a high pace until he gets an open, and then he takes his back and does his thing.
And he just didn't do it. It was weird.
Yeah, fighting the way he fought tonight was the complete opposite because he doesn't have the athleticism to do that. Mm-hmm. I was just looking at Sherdog rankings. I wasn't sure of Danny. He's still number 15 in our rankings. Obviously, I know when you're saying the rankings, you're talking about the UFC rankings.
Yeah, I think he's 13.
The Sherdog rankings, he's 15, but we do the entire world. So there's Bellator Championship. Like for example, we have I know we have Pitbull somewhere extremely high. We got Pitbull and AJ McKee in our rankings, so obviously that changes. I still feel because Ige has fought all the top guys, your Evilevs, your Josh Emmett, these guys, I feel like I can't have him facing an established guy, even though he's coming off a win. I still want to use him to test the other guys, kind of the guys that are like your Damon Jacksons making your way to that spot. So I went with Sadiq Yusuf as the next matchup. I feel like Yusuf kind of deserves a name, maybe a co-main event of a fight night or something like that. Who did you have down? And throw out to the chat and tell me what you guys want to do. And actually, I don't know if I even asked the chat about the last one. You guys can throw out your matchmaking for the main event too.
I know that Bruce Leroy just get a fight booked? I'm pretty sure he just got a fight booked coming off of that win. That would be a good one. But if not, even like Giga Chikadze kind of needs a win after that, Calvin Kattar fight. Or Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell, if he wants to come back,
he's coming off a loss, kind of as a bounce back. Yeah.
So that would give Dan like one more opportunity as a step forward. Like, hey, you are coming off a couple L's, but you did viciously just finish this guy that was just outside the rankings. And, if you can beat a guy like Giga, or you can, beat a guy like Bryce Mitchell, then you're still there. And those are fights that, he can win those fights.
Yeah. Alex Caceres, he's scheduled against Nate Landwehr, which is kind of a step back a little bit from Julian Erosa. Not skill wise, but I mean like ranking wise.
Yeah.
I think
fight the winner of that.
Yeah. Let's see when that fight is scheduled for. March, so it's a little bit. I mean, a little bit out of the time frame. Sometimes you get, you got to be close to each other in the time frame because he'd be waiting 2 months just to find out who the winner is.
Yeah, I wonder if they beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
He didn't get too scuffed up. Hopefully he gets a fast turnaround and gets another win because his style is fun. It's good to watch. He's from Hawaii. I would love for him to stay around.
Yeah, Hawaii had mixed results tonight as the fight right before Puna Soriano. I'm the best in business for a reason. Puna Soriano took on
you nailed it.
Roman. Yeah, you said that one up for me. Roman Kopylov. I just said that Danny Gay was probably one of my best picks on a 50-50 fight. This was one of my worst picks. I actually went with Soriano, saying that was going to be a good night for Hawaii. Roman Kopylov looked fantastic, and he looks like a completely different fighter his last 2 fights than he did when he first came in the UFC. He looks like the guy that had that hype come in the UFC and was like, I mean, he looks sharp. Chris, he's obviously really big for the weight class. When you saw him, he's huge against Puna Soriano, who's a bigger guy for the weight class, not tall but like muscular, like stocky kind of guy. Kopylov was sharp, he was accurate, and really just poised.
Yeah,
which is tough when he gets, even when he was getting hit by Puna, because Puna landed some hard. That's what. That's why I like Puna. He lands hard shots. He stays in your grill, and Kopylov just landed good shots from range. And then when he switched it up and started going to the body with those kicks, I mean, they were crushing. And I think other guys would have went down quicker if it wasn't as tough as a guy like Puna Soriano, because there was 3 or 4 where he was grimacing. And I think it was like the 3rd or 4th one that finally just, okay, that's enough. And I know they said that they think he might have broke a rib or something.
Wouldn't surprise me. Maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, maybe so.
That first spinning back kick to the body he landed, that's what started it all off. And then he was like, oh yeah, I did tape study and I watched the Brendan Allen fight. Brendan Allen hit him with 3 million body kicks. He just fucking tore him up. But his hands look so fast. His boxing looks so crisp. Puna was loading up on big shots, and he was hitting Kopylov with big shots. By far, Kopylov's best performance in the UFC. This is extremely impressive.
Shout out to Jay Petrie, Sherdog editor, who said, and the mastermind behind the Fight Finder. He said that he looked like Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper was like good. Like, man, that's the best performance Chase Hooper's career with a big look like he had a mop head on there. He looked really good. We're gonna again.
He looks great.
Yeah, he looked great. I mean, it's a tough division because of new face. Some of these guys coming up the rankings. If Israel Adesanya was still the champion, it would mix things up. They'd be looking for contenders, but now that Alex Bahia, it's kind of like everyone's back in the mix. So guys like Kopylov doesn't move up as quick. Like fast track to a title shot. We shouldn't be talking about title shot anyways. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, beating unranked guys. But Soriano's good. That's a good win. That's a quality win.
Yeah, he keeps us up. He does this 3 or 4 more times, and even 2 more times, and we're having a really different conversation about him.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
With the improvements that he's making, if he makes the same leap he made from DeKirico to this fight to his next fight, he's going to become that could be a real big problem.
Yeah, the only thing I'd pump on, he's already 31.
Yeah.
So he's in like his peak prime years. Like, I don't expect him to make continued jumps, but I hope I'm wrong because he looked really, really good tonight.
He could beat him above.
Yeah, something that could just be being comfortable in the UFC now. Things change. I hate saying the UFC jitters, but like fighting on the other side of the world and time changes and how you packing lunches and how your training partners go, and where you're training and how you're doing the training and fight week prep, and things are different in the UFC than other organizations. So it could be a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Before that, probably the fight that matters most in the rankings of every single fight on the entire card. Former UFC title challenger Raquel Pennington took on Vieira. Vieira coming off that controversial win over Holly Holm. Another really close fight. This time she's on the wrong side of a split decision as Raquel Pennington won. I scored it for Vieira. I had 29-28 for Vieira. How did you score it? And I'll throw it to the chat. How did the people in the chat score it?
I think it could have gone either way, honestly, because there was so many moments where Pennington fought a bad game plan in this fight, because when she actually initiated the striking in the close range, her hands were faster. She was landing her right hand at will. And then the second she would have any success on the feet, she would go into the clinch and just get overpowered by the bigger girl, because that's what she typically does to the other bantamweights. But your corner needs to read like, hey, you're not having success there. Stop initiating the clinch. If I was her corner, after I would have saw her lose 2 clinch exchanges in a row, I would have said, you're done. Because she was losing the clinch exchanges and Vieira was hitting her on the break. I would have said, get in her face, stay in the middle range, stay in the middle or close range, let your hands go. Vieira probably won the first round, and then the other 2 were very close. Women's bantamweight's just so dead. Because how do you get a title challenger out of this? This was a typical women's bantamweight fight where whoever had an impressive performance would be fighting Amanda Nunes, probably over Juliana Pena. And then now we're going to probably definitely see that rematch, or we're going to see Valentina and Nunes. And there's no new contenders at women's bantamweight. Like, who are you hype about in women's bantamweight? Have you seen anyone on Contender Series in the women's bantamweight? It's gone. It's dead.
It's the worst division, and not counting obviously women's featherweight. I'm not even counting that as a division. So we'll talk about that in a second. But I scored it. I actually agree with some of the things. It's funny because before the fight, you think that Pennington would have success in the clinch because that's what she does. She grinds everyone. But Vieira has that judo background. She is much bigger, taller.
She's big.
She was controlling in there. But then on the feet, being that Vieira is the harder puncher, you think she would have success there. But yeah, it was Pennington's speed, especially in like the second round.
Yeah.
I scored the first round and third round for Vieira. I scored the second round for Pennington. I looked on it because I was like, I was really surprised. I thought Vieira won. It was 13-2 on MMA decisions for Vieira. So
yeah.
That said, she's on a 5-fight winning streak. It is the quietest 5-fight winning streak. I didn't even know it until she said it. I'm sure Ben mentioned it on the when we do our preview, he does that introduction, and he does his like John Anik giving all the stats out. And a lot of times I'm listening, I'm kind of looking at my notes, trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to say? Trying to think of my best joke, something like that. And I'm sure he said it because Ben is the best at that. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, what do you do? Like the same question you said, what do you do for UFC? You could either do the third fight with Juliana Pena. You could do, and Amanda Nunes doesn't have many fights left. She's like, one foot's already out the door. She's doing another thing. She's the GOAT. She has nothing to prove. She's got 2 weight classes that she really want to cut down to 135. So you have the Juliana Pena one. Irene Aldana's got some couple wins. It's actually one person that she hasn't fought. So maybe you do that fight, the Mexico. Maybe she pulls off the upset and you got another Mexican champion. You could do, based on merit, you could do the Raquel Pennington fight, being that she's on a 5-fight winning streak. But we already saw that fight, and we saw Pena murder her to the point where Pennington quit. Well, she was trying to quit, and her corner would let her.
And then she murdered her.
Yeah, and she murdered her. And I don't know. We probably should stop saying murder, considering freaking Phil Baroni recently. But anyways,
you're not wrong about that.
Yeah, and
it's so dead, man.
The fourth fight is Valentina Shevchenko, and everybody wants that fight, except it seems like them two, because Shevchenko's killing it. Oh, I gotta stop saying murder and killing. She's beating up everybody at 125. She's not challenged there. Talia Santos did give her a match, and this that weight class is way better than 135.
Stacked.
Yeah,
and becoming more.
And there is some challenges still to her. Nunes, though, if you're on the other side, you're like, I beat her twice. That's what I'm going. Why would I give her a shot? I've already beaten her twice. What do I gain out of it? I'm the bigger one, so if no matter I win, you always say, "Oh, she's bigger," and then I go up 3-0. Okay, cool.
Especially since she arguably lost the second one, and if they were to fight a third time, you probably almost have to favor Valentina a little bit on the odds just because of what we've been seeing lately. I think Valentina's more improved, and I think Amanda's actually regressed a little bit. But I still think Amanda's regression is clearly good enough to beat anyone at women's 135.
Yeah, and Valentina's younger and not as shot born. Like, she hasn't had the battles of years like Amanda Nunes has. She hasn't had to adjust her weight like Amanda, which does take stuff out of you. But I always like to remind everybody. You said that Valentina arguably won that fight, and that's fine.
Not on paper though.
No, but I'm saying that's fine if you think a lot of people. But let's not forget that fight was fucking terrible. It was one of the worst fights ever. It was like nobody's calling for Carlos Esparza at Rose Namajunas 3. Oh wait, Anna's telling me that Shevchenko's young. Wait, Shevchenko's older than Nunes? It just doesn't seem that. I believe it. I'm not questioning it. It just seems like he's younger.
Yeah, Valentina's in her mid-30s, but the only difference is Valentina has never had a fight like Juliana Pena, Amanda Nunes won, where she just looked like shit, took a bunch of extremely unnecessary damage from a much lower level fighter.
She didn't have those earlier losses in her career like Amanda Nunes did.
Yeah.
The reason why I honestly, and again, I 100% believe I didn't look. I assumed Amanda Nunes was older for two reasons. One, Amanda Nunes is talking about retirement. Well, we don't hear that with Shevchenko. She's still in her prime. She kind of bet that thing like, I love doing this. This is my passion, fighting. You don't hear that. And the other thing is, Menendez was in the UFC before Valentina Shevchenko, so just kind of assume so. Yeah. It's one of those ones when you pull up two people and you're like, oh, it's like that the Georgia quarterback there who's older than the quarterbacks in the NFL right now. The guy's like starting. The guy's starting in the playoffs. Yeah, like 5 quarterbacks in the playoffs. He's actually older than the University of Georgia quarterback. All the Europeans, like, what the hell are you talking about? The University of Georgia college quarterback. So that said, who do we pick? I say, you know what? Just let Amanda pick. Let him pick. Who you want?
Yeah, and then just retire maybe. Pick an easy because what and then the thing that like is so tough is think about women's 115. What just happened now? Like Amanda Lemos just went out there and cracked Reina Rodrigues. She's fighting for a title shot. Tatiana Suarez is coming up and back to 125. Erin Blanchfield is fighting Tyler Santos. Like that is not happening at women's 135. No. There's no contenders. I watch a lot of not a lot of regional MMA, but I watch a lot of Contender Series. When Contender Series is around, I don't miss it. I cannot recall a women's bantamweight fight in the Contender Series, and that's where the UFC is drumming up a lot of their talent. Look at the lower card tonight.
Yeah,
it's non-existent.
Think about the people they've tried to get over the years, like Aspen Ladd. They tried to get her over. She's she's a talent, but
gone.
It also wasn't this like amazing, really not like you're saying about Erin Blanchfield or. I mean, like Manon Farrow, like there's legit challengers at 125. Talia Santos, who a lot of people look past. Now you got to consider her a legit challenger. You don't have that with her. So you know what? I say, Pennington, you're on a 5-fight winning streak. All right, you give her Amanda Nunes.
Yeah,
put it on a pay-per-view, third from the top, 3 title fights. Yeah, well, you don't even care that Amanda Nunes is fighting. Like kind of when Demetrius Johnson was like making his rounds against whoever, Chris Carriasso type, like just give her for Kel Pennington, and then you can end her winning streak.
Yeah, and then go walk away, and then maybe like what's crazy is I was talking to my fiance about this maybe like 3 nights ago about how she doesn't really understand, but I don't have anyone else to talk to. So I was explaining to her how crazy it was that the UFC dissolved men's flyweight and kept women's bantamweight. Like. What are we doing? Like maybe we should dissolve women's bantamweight after Amanda beats up Rocky. I'm not kidding.
If Amanda Nunes retired tomorrow,
we should get rid of it.
The problem is, and again, this is me showing my age, and it's so funny how MMA has changed over the years. And when you used to go on the Sherdog forums in, take say 2007, we'll say, when you talked about adding weight classes, it was shunned about. Like, how dare you add weight classes? We're gonna turn into boxing where there's a weight class every 5 pounds or every 2 pounds, and it's good to dilute the weight class, and no one's gonna fight each other. Now it's like, oh, we should have a 165-pound division. That'd be great to be another champion in this. It's just funny how it changed. And one thing I always tell people, when you added 125, you diluted 135. Get rid of 125, and 135 is stacked again.
Yeah. I would say if it were me and I could, nobody gives a shit about what I have to say, but there is so much talent. If you just look at the talent pool and actual women's band.
He said no one gives a shit what he's going to say, so sorry.
Well, but women's.
I had to do the joke twice. Sorry.
Women's 135 is just not the highest. At one point, women's 135, when Ronda was around and stuff, was the highest level of female MMA, but it's no longer that. I think women's atomweight has so much more talent, and the UFC doesn't care about what I have to say, but I would say bring in women's atomweight. Scratch bantamweight, featherweights are non-existent. You can go to UFC.com and there's no one there for women's featherweight. Does Sherdog even have women's featherweight rankings? I've never looked there.
Yes, we do, because we're the best. Of course we do.
And how many women are there?
That's 15. We do 15.
Where'd you get them from?
We're scrapping. We're scrapping now.
The local daycare center, local.
You know what's funny? It's one we don't have to update a lot because it's obviously never big top fights, but yeah, no, we do. We have them because I remember arguing for Jessie Mealy because she was on a 2-fight winning streak to be in the rankings and people like that. And then it's not good. And a lot of times it's
everyone deserves to compete. Everyone deserves to compete. Bellator has women's featherweight. PFL has it too. They just got Aspen Lab. Everyone deserves the opportunity to compete. But if you're the UFC and you want to put out the highest level of MMA for your viewers, I say add women's atomweight, add 105. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm looking at the weight class right now, and Alan McDonald asked the same thing. Who's exciting about at 135? I mean,
are there any?
Carol Hossa? I don't. Yeah. Carol Hossa is one. She's one.
How old is she? Is there anyone that's contending at women's bantamweight under 32?
She's 28. She's
28.
28.
Wow.
She won 7 out of 8, but she looked terrible against Sarah McMahon in her one loss.
Who just went to Bellator to go fight at women's featherweight, which is awesome. She's going to get paid.
I mean, we still have Alexis Davis in the rankings. And I'm not saying she shouldn't be in the rankings, but I'm saying
that shows you where it's at, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's move on. Let's talk about.
Yes.
We go from that to the other 135-pound division, the most exciting in the world. And I kind of think the two winners of the next two fights we kind of add into that. 135, I think, is the best division. I think it's the best division for multiple reasons. One, we don't have this unbelievable dominant champion. There's always question marks about Aljamain Sterling. Like, he wins the belt in a controversial win against Petrian. Then he defends the belt in a very close, debatable win. Then he fights TJ Dillashaw, who pops out. Like, he never really, plus he won the vacant title. It wasn't even, was one that, well, no, sorry, it wasn't vacant. Jan was the champion, but Jan won the vacant title, right? Because of Cejudo. I forget somebody in there. Cejudo
vacated.
Yeah, Jan won against Aldo, right?
Jan won against Aldo, and then I think
they defended against Sterling
and did the illegal and then that's where
the whole point is, he hasn't had that great moment. But then you look down the division. This
oh my god,
there's former stars, there's rising prospects, there's fun guys, coming back like Henry Cejudo, and then you have Umar Nurmagomedov, 16, 17, and whatever his record is now, beats Hani Basalis, a really tough test for anybody, knocks him out in the very first round. Just talk to me about his performance.
No one in bantamweight should be minus 850 against Hani Barcelos, but that knockout was Umar's kick dexterity and his vision and his athleticism to get in and out of the pocket. Like, he would go land his kicks. Hani would try to meet him in the pocket, and Hani was unloading in the pocket. And some weird way, like, nothing landed clean on Umar. He's just so fast.
He couldn't get by his kick. He couldn't get past that kicking range to land it. He couldn't reach him because of that. Like that, it was like I felt like him throwing punches, and it wasn't like Nurmagomedov was crushing him with these kicks, but he was just doing enough to kind of force him to not get in. And I felt like it was like someone trying to run across like a highway.
Yeah,
like you run and then you stop. You gotta wait for a car to go by, then run and stop. Wait for a car to get by, and you can't make it across.
Yeah,
like that's what I felt like. And then he lands this punch, which
so weird.
It could be a little bit of combination. It could be a little bit Hani Basharat, who was like we were talking about like 2 fights ago, he looked like shit. Then his last fight looked great again. Then he looked like obviously tonight he didn't look his best. Could be a little bit on running past Basharat, but Nurmagomedov lands this little short hook. It wasn't this massive punch, and he puts a guy out. And I just go, wait a minute. He's now 26 years old.
It was so fast too.
Maybe like the reflex to see the adjustment on the fly like that. And it landed clean, but it still wasn't the punch you'd think would put people out. If he's coming to his power, and he talked about how hard it is for getting people to agree to fight him. Well, if you're knocking guys out like that, punching guys out at 135, at 130, good luck. He's saying, "Oh, someone fight me March 4th." Yeah, good luck.
No, yeah, it's
who's stepping up? Who's raising their hand to fight him?
It ain't me. he is like he has very similar athleticism as Khabib, like very similar athleticism and speed. When Khabib would strike, it was not very fundamental, but his ability to just go forward. Khabib was really good at his distance management and actually understanding distance. Umar is just like a little bit more technical, a little faster.
He's 135 pounder.
Yeah. But
he's fast for 135.
Even that like weird knee miss to like left hook that killed him.
To see that
that's something Khabib would even do. Like just like throwing a weird barrage of like crazy unorthodox offense using their speed and athleticism and clear power. He was even apologizing on the mic after he felt bad for the follow-up shot.
Yeah, the guy looks like so I'm going to throw this out there, and again I just talked about how incredible 135 is. I mean, it's the one you see this, you see these articles. I'm Sherdog does it, and all the other top ones and all the little ones, and everybody does this. Oh yeah, first week of January, who's the champions next first week of January, a year from now. You've seen it every website does, ESPN, everybody. 135 is like that one division. It's there's a whole shitload of people as options.
Oh my god! I mean, like
if Corey Stanhagen gets the champion a year from now, would that surprise you?
No, I mean none of those guys. Like Merab could be champion, Petriot could be champion, Sean O'Malley could be champion, Cheeto could be champion, Umar could be champion. I mean, Aljo could beat all these guys too.
Aljo could still be the champion.
Henry could be champion.
Henry Cejudo come back and win the title. Like it's and there's other guys we're not even talking about. It's unbelievable. It's the best. It's the best division. So that said, we talked about how loaded this division is, how rare it is to become a UFC champion, especially in modern MMA. Not your 2002s. I'm talking current best guys in the world, best athletes, this and that. Is this guy can? I'm putting you on a spot. I always say I don't make predictions without tape study, but you're not me, so I'm putting you on the spot. Does this guy hold the title one day?
Even in a division this stacked, with his name and his namesake, also will probably give him a little bit more opportunities. He was a minus 850 favorite going into this fight against Hani Barcelos. That should tell all the fans, anyone of what the UFC and what matchmakers, what gamblers, what Vegas think about this kid. You're almost stupid to not think he's probably going to at least fight for a title. His kick dexterity, is he the best kicker in the UFC? He is so like his kicks are just fluid.
Well, we'd have to go through. I mean, Stephen Thompson's still pretty good. Izzy's really good. Fiziev, but he's in the club. He's in the club.
Yeah, like his kicks are. He's got so much dexterity, and they're so fast, and I mean, he's just really good. And then his grappling is world class. He's a problem for anyone. I think he should fight the loser of Cheeto and Sandhagen in a main event somewhere maybe after like Ramadan later in the year. He's not going to get a fight in March. Nobody wants to fight this. No. Nobody wance to fight this guy. And I think
which is a really good point, which is probably why he's pushing over March. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna play a game. I'm just gonna have you do it real quick. One word answer, no analysis. I'm gonna put you in a spot. If we had a clock, I'd set a clock, 30 seconds kind of thing. I'm gonna go from the bottom of the Sherdog rankings at 15, throw a name, his next fight, who wins. So his not a year from now, not 2 years from now. If he got matched against this guy 3-4 months from now, who wins? So Nurmagomedov, Ricky Simone.
I think that's a bad fight for Ricky Simone because Umar can do everything he can do.
No way we're doing this in 30 seconds. If you give me just one word.
Sorry.
Him or Dominic Cruz?
He beats Dom.
Song Yadong.
That's a tough fight. He could probably out-wrestle him.
All right, we're skipping the Bellator guys, but Rob Font.
Yeah, he beats Rob Font.
All right. I got to skip some Bellator guys. Marlon Vera. That's a tough one. That's
a hard fight. I would pick Umar because Marlon has shown to accept being on his back and fighting off his back with elbows and stuff. And just take Umar's striking away, and he could probably out-wrestle everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I'm skipping Jose Aldo.
He beats him.
Yeah, but I'm skipping him anyways. Corey Sandhagen right now.
Yeah, same thing, same problem. Look what TJ did to him.
Skipping TJ Dillashaw. Here's a tough one. Petrion, who wins?
After watching the second Aljo fight, Umar could probably beat him. His grappling. It's like
Sean O'Malley.
He beats Sean O'Malley. He out-wrestles him.
Marab.
That's Marab's worst fight in the division because of the grappling.
Aljamain Sterling. You've gone all the way up to number one.
I know. I think he could beat every one of. I think he could beat every one of these guys, and I think Aljo is his hardest fight.
So who wins, him or Aljo?
If they fight in 2024, he beats.
I'm saying they fight. No, I'm not talking. I'm saying Aljo. Some reason goes. I'll fight him in March. For some reason, just unbelievable world. Aljo fights him in March. Who wins?
Aljo. Dagestani wrestling is second to none, man, or first to none. Like it's so good. I think he could beat Aljo. I mean, maybe I'm high on him, but Aljo doesn't have anything to threaten him with.
Before my buddy Luke Weaver gets on you, I want to remind you that America won the World Cup in wrestling again. Just remind you guys, go USA.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was Dev. He's going all the way to the top. He's all in.
I think he can beat them all. And that's crazy.
All right. So now I'm gonna put you on the spot. March, someone accepts or whatever. You're the other Supreme Emperor. No one has a say. Someone has to fight him in March. Who are you booking them?
I hate that Cheeto and Sandhagen are booked against each other because I think that either one of those guys is the fight to make.
I don't, because that's an amazing fight.
But if they weren't booked, I'd put him against Sandhagen. But I like a fight with him and Merab. Let's see if he can keep up with Merab.
Wow.
Because that's going to test his grappling, and he deserves it. Or the winner of Font and Yanez, but that's a bad fight for Yanez and Font because of the grappling.
Stylistically, I agree with everything you said. Like he could battle with anybody. He could probably be the favorite against everyone. I think Sterling would probably come in as a favorite, but every other fight he might come in as a betting favorite. I'm not predicting. I'm not doing what I made you do, but I'll say this: if I'm a Rob, I'm not accepting a fight like that because you're on this. Well, we're not even because Rob probably would because he's an insane guy who's extremely tough and from Georgia. You know what I mean? Like the guy's a badass. But if I'm his manager or something, I'm saying, dude, no, like you're number 2 in the world, number 3 in the world. Like you need to be fighting for the title. You've beaten everybody. Not the guy who just beat Hani Basalos. Like You've beat those guys a long time ago. You beat those guys years ago. You've been on this incredible streak. So I'm going with Song Yadong.
That's a good fight.
Coming off a loss. Stylistic, it's a fun fight. I would put Umar Nurmagomedov versus Song Yadong.
The UFC would probably, man, China versus Russia. What is the UFC like? What does the UFC do about that? You know, how do they feel about that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. We got a request to see how you kick the bag.
Kick the bag? I have to clear some stuff out of here. I got to move my office chair that I'm sitting on.
that was a cop.
Who was it? Who was that? I've never seen them before. Exploring the car with.
I want to see you do it too. All right, the other guy, and I'm not making you do this again. All right, but the other 135-pounder that was continued to rise up the rankings. Javid Basharat, undefeated, took on other undefeated Matus Mendonca. Basharat won a unanimous decision. Talk to me about this performance, and then I'll tell you what I thought.
This is the prime example of useless pressure. Mendonce, I think that's how they pronounce his name, was just like, you could tell he's 23, and you could tell he fights out of Shooto box.
Yeah, very aggressive style.
Just forward pressure. He doesn't have the BJJ to back up what like what Nascimento did today. That was a very Shooto box performance. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that, BJJ in his back pocket. Also,
he was trying.
He was trying, but Javid Basharat he's a very well-rounded fighter. He is very good everywhere. I think once Javid weathered the storm of that first, I'm not even going to call it a storm, just like energy. Mendonce was just kind of coming at him with a lot, but nothing was really landing. Nothing was really successful. The second Javid decided, fuck it, I'm just going to plant and fire straight shots down the pipe. That's where all of his success came from. And then he switched to the grappling in the second and then the third round and kind of really carved him up with the ground and pound. A lot of great elbows, great control. For someone that's so young in the UFC and so young in their career, usually with grapplers, you have guys that are very positional that don't do a lot of damage, or they go over the top and they hunt submissions, or they try to do too much damage and they lose position. He is really good at maintaining position and then doing damage right away.
So good.
He is really fucking good. He's really good.
That's another 130. So I was looking at my notes this week for the preview, and I started just writing like little points I had. I said numbering them. This is after the preview, just out of just bored, whatever. And I write like, okay, I had 15 points about this guy, 17 points about this guy. And Basharat, I had the most points on him over anybody. And usually it's always the main event guys. I try to,
sure.
And they have more fights, so I'm taking more notes. Some notes I'm adding, some notes I'm taking away. If something changed, I continue to see so many tools in this guy.
He's so good.
I think you hit it on the head perfectly the way you described it. You talk about how well-rounded it is. He is the example of an MMA fighter. I know that's so cliche to say. Like, I get he's not a striker, he's not a grappler, he's not a kickboxer, he's the perfect blend. He blends it all together so well. I feel like he's like when you have a who's the guy on TV, the cook? Is it Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, like Gordon Ramsay, where they have all these ingredients and they know how to mix up, but like the normal guy at home doesn't have this certain cream, it doesn't have this kind of spices. You kind of have salt and pepper and shit. You don't have I went to this is only in West Africa they have this spice. You throw it. Like, I feel like he's that guy where he has all these tools and he just blends it. He makes this masterpiece thing where he went to one of these top cooking schools, and that's why he's so good compared to the person who watches Julia Child on TV trying to mix it. It's not the same. And so he just blends everything.
He's so good
with his striking, with his take. He was always one step ahead of Mendonca. Like
everywhere.
There was more. He was like he hit him with like 4 or 5 punches where there was like a scramble happened. Mendonca was trying to get up onto his feet while he was going up. He realized that Basharat lands like a combination while knowing he's coming up. So he's kind of like his weight's going this way and his body's going this way, so I can land some shots. And then as soon as he starts turning back to kind of strike back now, back on his hips. It was just like he was always way ahead of him, like changing up, like one of those ones where they say like, just when you think you know the answers, I change the question kind of thing.
Yeah.
The other thing, he's the perfect example. You talked about straight punches. He's a perfect example of this fight was the perfect example of effective looping shots versus straight shots.
Yeah.
He was beating him to the punch because he was throwing straight shots. You talked about the pressure that coming from Mendonca. A lot of that happened. I think Basharat was okay with all that stuff that was coming at him, and he was okay with like, okay, you're gonna chase me. And a lot of times he was chasing him right into his power shots. So he was landing power shots coming in, but also he was using it and taking time to kind of get, knowing he can't sustain that kind of output, knowing he's tiring himself out. He wasn't even landing. So like, all right, keep chasing me like that. You're wasting your own energy. You're throwing these big shots, and I'm just sidestepping. I'm circling. I'm sidestepping. I'm circling. I'm turning this way. But then also starting to slowly find his range. And about late in the first round, he found his range, and then it became an onslaught. I love this guy.
It was sick. It was like
he called Chris Gutierrez out, and Gutierrez obviously he just coming off that win against Frankie Edgar. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Except for Chris Gutierrez. Like you've beaten, like I feel the same way with Merab. Now, the talent wise, I would favor Basharat. But I'm saying, like, if you're a big, you beat Frankie Edgar, and too many people, that seems like a bigger win than Basharat. I'm not taking that fight. So I'm putting him against another guy who's kind of in that same range, but doesn't have that huge name. So they kind of can fit a little bit. And I'm putting him against Jonathan Martinez.
Yeah. His game is so. Javi Basharat's game is so like he can take the back foot, he can L step, and then what he'll just kind of take everything you're giving him, and then he's very tight. Everything's very straight, and he'll plant his feet. The second you see him plant his feet, you know clean, straight, accurate shots. I wish he could add a teep kick to his arsenal. If he adds a teep kick to his arsenal, it's done.
When you look at his game and his length and all this, it's right there.
Yeah. Especially a guy like Mendonca, just like pressuring forward, take the back foot, plant, teep kick up the middle, and just you could stop a lot of guys. But he's also young; he's learning. He's got Dewey Cooper, Jake Shields, and his brother. His brother's also fucking good. That was his corner. He's got a great corner.
His brother was amazing.
They're killers.
Yeah, that could be like the new brothers of the UFC.
They're good.
Let's do it again. Let's go up the rankings of bantamweight. No, I'm just kidding.
He could be a problem for anyone. I like the Chris Gutierrez.
It's such a good division. It is such an incredible division. I hope he gets to 9. He shouldn't have been on the prelims.
No, but next time he won't be. There's no way he'll be on the prelims again. I think he should fight Jack Shore next.
Ooh,
because he can grapple. Both these boys can grapple.
No, that's my point. He's really good. Like if he's the champion 2 years from now, like I'm not shocked.
Yeah, fighting for a belt.
But contender. Also, the thing about this too, I want to say, is while we're talking high of all these guys at bantamweight, and I'm saying, oh, these guys could be a title challenger, champion one day or something like that. They also might not even crack the top 15. That's how great. Like if they don't ever get the top 15 because they're losing, that's how good this division is. Yeah, I think it's laughable when people put another division over it.
No, it's clearly the best. Like Ricky Simone could fight all these guys that we're talking about and just fuck them all up. Yeah, that's how. Ricky Simone could. Yeah,
and he's getting sniffing the title shot,
and he's good.
Yeah, no, he's very good. Yeah,
135 is clearly.
I'm glad because I've been leading this chart for a long time now, and it seems like not because of me, I think I'm but the rest of the public is starting to come around. Before that, Abdul Razak Al Hassan took on the Mike Tyson of MMA, self-proclaimed Mike Tyson of MMA, Claudio Rivera. He must have been talking about the later version of Mike Tyson. The
current Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Abdul Razak Al Hassan won by second round TKO. I'm not going to get excited about 37-year-old. Like people get all excited. Oh, he's got so much. I'm not. He's 37 years. I'm not getting excited. I know he is. It was cool. I feel like Al Hassan. I wish he learned this 5 years ago. He's starting to wrestle more.
Yeah.
In the wrestling, obviously he's slowed down his pace a little bit. He's not throwing super hard in every single shot. So the wrestling's not wearing him out. Plus, the offensive wrestling, like being on the offense, is different than being on the defense. But also, the threat of the takedown is what set up this knockdown because he had Rivera, who was kicking his legs early, but once Al Hassan started going to take him down, he got to the fence where Al Hassan kept going for takedowns, and he dropped his hands just so he could catch him. Dropped his hand, worried about the takedown, and then Al Hassan, when he lands a shot like that,
that shot would finish anybody on the current roster of the UFC. Doesn't matter what weight class you're in. That shot would dead anybody. He's just that. He just fucking cracks. There's a limit of punching power to where it almost like Pereira could knock out any heavyweight. You know what I mean? Like, Like there gets to a point where you reach that threshold where it's just deadly. You're just generating a lot of fucking power. Al Hassan fought a really good game plan towards the.
Yeah.
I don't even think he was trying to get the takedowns. He was just pressuring against the cage, threatening with it. His work on the clinch breaks, his elbows on the clinch, and then the final closing of that round actually really reminded me of Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler, where Dustin was just starting to fucking rain on him where he was kind of shelled up against the cage. And then just like you said, that just the threat of the pressure of the clinch of a potential takedown caused him to put his hands down. And Al Hassan is a big puncher, and he's powerful. And if he continues to fight game plans like that at middleweight, he could find success. He's not going to fight for a title, but could he knock out Gregory Rodrigues? Probably. Could Gregory Rodrigues knock him out? Probably, but that's a fight I'd fucking watch.
That's the thing about Hassan. He can knock out anybody. That's the point. But he also could look extremely flat, and he's 37, and he's fading. His cardio could completely shot. Like, he could look absolutely terrible this next fight. So, and that's actually almost what I'm expecting.
It's weird. Like, he could fight Marc-Andre Barriault tomorrow and just get tooled.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So don't get too excited. Okay. Let's move on. So I get a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of, but a lot of times when we put our preview show out, we definitely get more responses to what we say on our preview show than we do. Well, that's not, I get a lot from the recap too, but like a lot of the messages I'll get and private messages I try to talk to everybody who messages me. Unless they're being a tool, but we almost never get that. The fight, I think this is the most of a prelim I've ever got messages on. It was on the Matus Rebecki versus Nick Fury. It had a lot to do with what I said about Nick Fury on the previous show. I kind of went a little hard on him and his team. A lot of people supported that. Especially the New England people. A lot of people agree with me. So I looked at this fight as a guy who's a UFC talent versus a guy who's not. And you messaged me during the fight saying something like negative about Rebecki. I disagree. I'll tell you why. There is a lot of there's a lot of holes in his game, but a lot of that happens when you're teeing off on a guy. And Fury just
not respecting him. He didn't respect him.
Yeah. So
he didn't respect Fury. And funny enough, I listened to the preview show and everything you said was right. Rob Font might want a new jiu-jitsu coach. Because I don't understand how you're a jiu-jitsu coach, but you don't have an active guard or you don't have any hip escapes. Or, I mean, you have Rebecki's good, but like, I feel like if you're a jiu-jitsu coach at a high-level MMA gym, that type of stuff, like, you should just have a little more to offer. Like, would you be like, if the one of the BJJ coaches from American Top Team didn't have a hip escape, didn't have an active guard, he did nothing. He did fuck all.
Yeah.
So and Rebecki was using a lot of forward pressure. I don't think he respected him.
No, I don't either.
if he fights like that against someone that's good, anyone that can throw a straight counter down the pipe is gonna, might end the fight. But again, I don't think he respected him. After watching more of the fight, I was like, he just doesn't respect him. He's fighting him like he doesn't respect him. He just leaned on his durability and his power, and he out horsepowered him. Everything he did worked.
Yeah, and Fury, again, a guy, I have nothing against him personally. I just don't think he's UFC level. He showed no offensive skills at all in this fight. And he got backed up, just turtled up, got hit, tried throwing up submissions when he was getting taken down, just getting blasted. He showed he's extremely tough. He shows he has heart. His cardio was questionable. Some of that had to do because he was getting blasted, but he tired out. And there was a time in the second round where it was starting to get a little sloppy between both of them. They both were very tired. But Rebecca was able to go to something else. And that was because Rebecca has fought actual guys.
Yeah.
Been battle tested, has been in those positions in actual MMA, professional MMA fights where he had to dig deep.
Yeah, and rely on his cardio and have a plan B. Fury did land a couple little like cheeky elbows and a couple little short shots in there that kind of bloodied his cheek, but nothing doing. Like nothing came from it.
Yeah, it was more like you throw back, you're gonna hit some shots.
Yeah.
It was. He never hurt him. The most thing they were hoping for, maybe he'll completely punch himself out and gas out. That didn't happen. And this goes back to what I said. There are exceptions to the rules of guys who can come in with, fighting extremely low level guys and make a jump to the UFC and have success. But those guys are Brock Lesnar. Those guys are Jon Jones. Those guys are Bo Nickel, the elite of the elite fighters from other backgrounds. Jon Jones had this, wasn't the greatest wrestler in this, but he's a New York State champion. He wrestled in college, but he also had this freak length, different time in MMA too. Brock Lesnar, obviously national champion. Bo Nickel, 3-time national champion. And there's other guys too.
Yeah. And not at 155. At heavyweight, you can be Ciryl Gane, and you could go from moving furniture. You could go from moving furniture, being like, holy fuck, this guy's a super athlete. Let's train him Muay Thai for 2 years, and then he could be an interim heavyweight champion about to fight Jon Jones for the vacant belt. But not at 155.
Yeah, and Alex Pereira being this all-time kickboxer and this and that.
At middleweight.
Yeah, but being a jiu-jitsu black belt, cool. There's 5,000 of them in MMA.
And not at lightweight.
Probably more than that.
Yeah.
And you're also not Gordon Ryan. You're not that kind of level of black belt. So, yeah. Anyways, before that, Alan Nascimento took on Carlos Hernandez. Really impressive showing by Alan Nascimento. Just super great guy for the division at flyweight. Another division that's really improving. Super slick ground game. He's got those long legs. That frame is going to be an issue for so many people. But then adding in that jiu-jitsu skills, where he's got this, he had the triangle, the triangle body lock there. He could, his opponent couldn't get off at all. It was locked in. It was so impressive when his opponent was almost like doing like a Granby roll, and he just kept the body lock triangle in and just rolling with it, and it just got tighter and tighter. I was super impressed with him. And this is two fights in a row where he's looked tremendous.
This is what Shooto Box gym fighters are going to look like. This is that game plan where a lot of pressure, heavy striking, and then the second you think we're striking, we're going to take your back. Even if you hurt us, our guards off our back are vicious. We hunt submissions. We have explosive power. This was just a very Shooto Box performance. When Hernandez started to get up when he had the back, the choke only got deeper. Unless you're going to do some extreme athletic front flip to try to get them to maybe land on their shoulder and neck to hurt them and release the choke or release the body lock. You start standing up when the opponent has a body triangle and the choke almost fully sunk in, you're fucked. There's nothing there's nothing you can do. And that he could have had that. He could have that position. He's a 125er, and he could have that position on a welterweight. Yeah, and it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't matter. You're just fucked.
He's really good. I love how he set up his takedown. He just threw straight punches not even trying to land, just throwing punches to get him to bring his hands up to block, to follow right into a takedown. Just really pretty stuff. We're gonna move on because we've been going for a while, and we gotta get some fun stuff. Daniel Argueta took on Nick Aguirre. Aguirre, again, not one of the fights that we previewed on the preview show. Kenny came in last minute, and Argueta just beat him with pressure. Just pressured him. He was the better wrestler. He was smart to come out wrestling a guy who took a fight on short notice, tie him down with wrestling. And the thing Aguirre did wrong, he wants to wrestle you, and you're throwing these big looping hooks, just making it even easier for him to just drop underneath him, get the takedowns. Not a good showing for, again, sure, he took the fight on short notice, but just not a good showing. And lower level guy in Daniel Argueta got a UFC win.
Well, even there's moments where Argueta would pressure Aguirre up to the cage, and he's not fighting for underhooks at all.
Yeah, no, he's throwing those big looping hooks trying to land his shot, and
he's pressed back against the cage, and he has overhooks, and I'm just like,
yeah,
okay, so this isn't gonna fucking work. Like I don't know what your game plan was, but just like you said, you throwing looping punches, getting under the looping shots. Also, too, he's a featherweight. Argueta's a bantamweight. Argueta was a bantamweight champion. He fought in the Ultimate Fighter at bantamweight. He's moved up and fought Damon Jackson on short notice at featherweight. This is another like short notice-ish fight at featherweight. So like this is a bantamweight that's like out hustling you, out muscling you.
Yeah. Alan might have said it right. He said it looked like he was a guy trying to. No, he couldn't go 3 rounds. He was trying to end it in the first round. That very well could have been the case. Like he might have made it 3 rounds, but that could have been the case where his effective offense was only for a short period of time.
And then at that point,
and going back to the overhooks can work, but you have to have incredible hip control. Like you have to be an extremely high level guy.
And that's not the first thing they teach you, and that's not what they tell you to do. You know, that works for the supreme athletes, and not this just kind of So I was watching it. I'm shaking my head.
Yeah, it's like guys shooting for a single, and you're going for leg cradles when you really should be sprawling and whizzering and stuff like that. But yeah, leg cradles work, but you got to be pretty high level to be pulling off stuff like that, or going at someone really low level, like one or the other,
and lucky.
Yeah.
It's. I watched this fight and I was just like, well, both of these guys are probably not 100% UFC level, but like one of them definitely isn't.
Yeah, I agreed. And before that, the first fight of the night, Jimmy Flick ended his retirement, coming back, taking on Charles Johnson, but his return fight wasn't the homecoming he was looking for, as Charles Johnson won by first round stoppage. I thought the stoppage was a little early, a little premature.
I thought it was terrible,
especially with a guy who's a submission threat who wants to fight on the ground.
Yeah.
That said, I don't know if that would have made a difference.
Probably not.
But I just want to say that I thought Johnson this was the best he looked so far in the UFC, and he seemed very intelligent. He was throwing teep kicks. He was keeping his distance. What I loved is the variety. He was changing things up. He was changing the stance. He was changing the angles. He would throw a hook. He'd throw a calf kick. He'd throw a teep kick. Then he'd come back with a slicing step and elbow, and just was getting Flick guessing. And I liked how aggressive he came out, because Flick's been out for a while, so he never let him get his timing. He went jumped right on the gas. Let's go. I was really impressed how calm he was, especially in the top, with a guy like Flick, who was a submission threat. When he was on top, he didn't panic. He controlled. I thought Johnson looked really good. For a guy who I thought he lost his last fight.
I do too. I think he won. There's not many robberies out there, but that was walking the line of it, and he looked good. He looked good here, just like you said. It was almost like he kind of threw like a handful of glass at Jimmy Flick, where you don't know which piece of glass is going to hit you, but if I just keep throwing handfuls of shit at you, it's going to hit you. But it was all with he used his fight IQ too. He was he wasn't just throwing random shots. Everything was set up well. His stance switching was really, really good. Everything he hit Flick with, the first couple shots were like, those are clean shots. Next couple, those are getting more clean. And then before you know it, he's actually kind of hurting him. He staggered him a couple times. Flick took his back. When a guy like Flick with a record like his takes your back, a lot of guys might freak out and panic. He stayed composed. I wish he would cut the little green fur patch off the back of his head. But that's the only negative thing I got to say about him in this fight is his haircut.
You know,
he looked fucking good.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the haircut either. But all right, let's go. Let's get to the fun stuff as we've covered all 11 fights. We have the Bulls, the Bears, the cut list, all that good stuff. Let's go. Let's go negative first. We'll go with the cut list. I have 2. So the way the cut list works, guys, and we'll throw it out to the chat. You guys throw your cuts in there, and me and Dev will read them. So it works. If me and Dev both have the same person on our cut list, we give the UFC permission to release that person. Dev, I have 2 people. How many do you have?
I've got 2 also, and I'm pretty sure it's the same people.
All right. So mine might be cheating because I have one person who fought tonight and one who didn't fight.
Oh.
So the first person I'm cutting is Sijara Eubanks. She was supposed to fight on this card. She missed weight.
I got 3.
Okay. 1,000,000 times. She's missed weight 1,000,000 times now. We talk about underachievers in the UFC. The way she looked on the Ultimate Fighter show, if she fought, oh God, what's her name? The girl she was supposed to fight, Nico Montana. I think she's gonna win. I was picking her to beat Nico Montana on the show when she was supposed to fight for the title. Like, this woman was so close to being UFC champion, but she can't make weight.
Well, they need to pull the fucking ripcord on letting her try to fight out 125 ever again. I texted you this. Maybe Ben can get the stat, but I texted you. My question was, how many times has Sijara Eubanks actually fought and made weight at 125? And how many 125 fights has she actually had booked? Because this is a problem. You can't fight in this division. And it's unfair for Priscilla Cachoeira. As much of a piece of shit I think she is for eye gouging, I don't even think she should be in the UFC for eye gouging Jillian Roberts, but that's my personal belief.
Oh, yeah. No, I say it every time. It's in my notes. I say it every time. But
you made this – the UFC is having a pay-per-view event next week in Brazil. You made this girl fly to Vegas, cut weight, for you to not make fucking weight. Like, not only is it disrespectful, it's despicable.
Holy shit. Sorry. Dude, the Jaguars come back and beat the Chargers. They were down 27-0. Holy shit.
Football's crazy this year.
Wow. That's fantastic. Anyways, I didn't really have a...
I'm from Miami. I don't live in Miami, but I'm from Florida, so let's go.
That was just cool. I just... my phone was blown up with text messages, and I'm like, I thought the game was over. But wow. Anyways, that's crazy. Sorry, we lost interest. The other person I had, Nick Fury. It's not often I cut a guy after one fight in the UFC, but I didn't think he deserved to be there to begin with, so I'd cut Nick Fury. Who did you have?
I have you. Thankfully, you brought up Eubanks because I did want to say that about her. I think it was really terrible for her to make Priscilla travel to America and do all that in this way. But Fury's got to go, and then I also think Aguirre should probably head back to the regional scene for a little bit because I don't think he's ready to be here either.
Yeah, I thought about putting him. He took the fight on short notice. Did Nick Fury take it on short notice too?
I think so, maybe.
Yeah, I think he did. So yeah, I guess I'm being a hypocrite if I say one.
So did Sean Strickland though. Sean Strickland was a plus 130 underdog.
That's true. That's true.
So
all right, so cut all of them. We'll cut all 3 of them. We'll cut Fury. We'll cut. And you just mentioned to cut Sean Strickland, so we'll cut him too, I guess. All right, let's get to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and Bears are a stock market reference. When a thing is going good, it's a bull stock, or bull market when things going bad, it's a bear market or bear stock. We do it hockey style 3-2-1 with number 1 being the best or the worst, depending on the category. We'll stay negative. We'll go Bears. Dev, do you mind if I go first?
No, please go first.
All right, my number 3 is debuting fighters, with the exception of the 2 guys, Rybicki and Fury, who fought each other. But the ones, a debuting fighter fighting a veteran, they went 0-3 on the night with Aguirre, Ribeiro, and Mondanka all losing. So not a good night for UFC debuting fighters, except for obviously Rybicki, who took out another UFC newcomer. My number 2, Fighter who fought in the main event, and again, we'll throw other people's Bulls and Bears up there. Nassourdine Imavov, he took a chance, and he was right there. He could have not fought. He could have waited for Kelvin Gastelum or fought someone else. He took a chance going up a weight class, fighting a guy, and losing. That kind of, even though it wasn't officially a middleweight fight, people are going to look at it that way. People are going to mention Strickland beating him. So his stock went down. And everyone was talking about how good Imavov was ahead of time. I don't know if he's going to get the same buzz after this fight. And my number one, kind of the same situation, Ketlen Vieira, probably was in line to get a title shot, and now she lost. Again, I thought she won, but she lost a very controversial, I shouldn't say controversial, very close back and forth fight, but she lost to the person. She lost to the journey woman of the upper, not your gatekeeper, but I'm saying of the contenders, the one that's kind of been there for a long time and not many people can get excited about. So I feel like all three of their stocks dropped. Dev, who do you have for your Bears?
I have. Let me go back to my notes here. I'm so sorry. Bears. I think Bears Fury, that was just a bad show for him. I don't think he should be here. He comes from a really good camp. Well, I don't want to be mean, but I think that camp might be a little overrated, but a lot of people still think they still hold it high up on a pedestal. He comes from a pretty good camp, but I just think he needs to go and get a little more road work done and fight like some real competition. Maybe come back. We're talking about cutting him. Obviously, if I can add as my one Bear, I would add maybe a half and a half. Sarge, she just deserves to be a Bear for just forever for the continuous weight misses. I did speak on Charles Johnson's hair. I was going to add that. I do agree with you on Imavov because a lot of people were really high on him. When this fight got announced and Sean Strickland, they said Sean Strickland was going to take the fight on short notice. I used to sports bet quite a bit. I spent a lot of time in 2022, but my dad had a pretty lengthy hospital stay towards the middle of the year last year, and I got away from sports betting. But man, I would have laid a lot of coin on Sean Strickland as an underdog in this fight. I thought that was clear. I think Imavov is going to have to go back and rebuild quite a bit. And then I had actually had Mendonce as one of my pretty big Bears too, because in the pre-fight face-offs, he went and did his whole like handgun thing to Javid. Did you see that at all?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah. And then Javid posted on his social media, which this is what makes him a big Bear. Javid posted on his social media in a grappling exchange at the end of the round. Javid went and did the hand thing back to him as he was getting up from on top of his body. And I was like, that was fucking badass.
Yeah,
so he played the clip and they kind of mixed it together. So I have Mendonce as a pretty big Bear, but there was quite a few Bears on this card. This card was like, the people that won looked good and the people that lost, like, there was some pretty bad looking losses on this card. Damon Jackson could be added to that list too for just that bad game plan.
Bad game, yeah. All right, let's go to the Bulls. These are the people you want to be on this list. This is the good ones who stock rise. I'll let you go. I'll let you go first, Dev.
I think Sean Strickland's got to be a pretty big bull for everyone here. He's coming off of this is a Ben Duffy stat. The last person that fought two main events back to back before Sean Strickland was Tito Ortiz, and that was UFC 50 and 51.
Yeah,
and that is a Ben Duffy stat.
Patrick Cote. Ready? I'm going to give you it. Ready? Vitor Belfort and Patrick Cote was his opponents. It was supposed to be Guy Mezger, but Patrick Cote's UFC debut was a main event of a pay-per-view. Yeah,
against Tito,
and he hurt Tito. He almost dropped him in the very beginning.
Jeez, I should go watch that back.
That was UFC 50, and then 51 was Vitor Belfort.
I should go watch both of those back just because it's funny to watch Tito Ortiz fight.
Dude, my knowledge of that time is so easy to pull off my memory. But you asked me about a card 3 weeks ago. I have a hard time recalling shit. It's weird.
I know exactly what you mean. But Sean Strickland, I think he, for a guy that fought back-to-back main events, I'm not going to die on the hill, but I do really think he did beat Cannonier. And then to come back and fight the way he fought, coming in off the couch, he said it himself. He goes, even in this post-fight, he goes, I want to thank the UFC. You guys paid me a fuck ton of money for this fight. Those are his words. He got paid a lot of money for this fight, supposedly. And good on him. He came. He didn't have to cut any weight. Showed up at 204 pounds. The dude was crashing his dirt bike a week ago. He just went and made a bunch of money and beat up a guy that he was an underdog. Hopefully people get money on him.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, like that was great. And then it's a tie with Javid and Umar.
Oh, we don't do ties here. You gotta pick one. We don't do ties.
Javid looks so good, but I'm so high on Umar, and it's not just the last name. Like I track that camp and that Dagestani. I'm just really into those guys. I really think that their style of MMA is just
incredible.
Yeah. And Umar's 26. He's just going to be such a fucking problem for so long. Like, he's got 7 years of reigning hell on that division, probably.
Yeah, could be.
You know?
Yeah.
And if he's doing this at 26, yeah, he's just so good. Javid too.
So Dev, I'm going to help you out. When I have a tie, I find a way to bunch people together. So that's what I would have said. Rising 135-pound prospects or something like that. So undefeated 135.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I'll use that next time.
I got a lot of experience doing that.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? So I had Nurmagomedov no one on my list. So I'll come up with 3 different ones. I'm gonna go with Raquel Pennington. I didn't agree with the decision or anything, but a 5-fight winning streak in that division is a 5-fight winning streak where I'm actually talking about a title shot for Raquel Pennington. So yeah, her stock is growing. She's about to have a baby and all that with Tisha Torres. So she seems very happy right now. So Roman Kopylov is
hell yeah.
Alan McDonald said 2 tremendous victories in a row, 2 knockout victories in a row. Looks really good. The guy had a lot of hype coming to the UFC, kind of lost that. Now looking like again at 185, looks like I don't want to say contender yet, but someone to watch now a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And my number 1, I'll go with the guy you didn't pick, and I'll go with Basharat. 3-0 in the UFC. We're talking about him getting a ranked opponent. He looks tremendous. We're talking about him maybe being a UFC title champion one day, or a challenger, or ranked in the best division in MMA. Basharat, I just love this guy. I think he's so good. All right, so there you guys we have the Bulls and the Bears. Let's go with a dude seriously moment. We haven't I'm gonna go with I got 2. And they both have relation to Al Hassan. Dude, Al Hassan, you get your big knockout, you go on, you do your post-fight interview, and he went to town. Joaquin Buckley kept calling him a pussy like a million times. Like, dude, seriously? That guy beat you. He's not going to give you a rematch. Like, why? What are you doing, dude? Like,
yeah.
He was just epic
even in the media.
No reason.
Even in the media after. I don't know if you saw any of the post-fight stuff, but he was in the media.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, with the media members, I thought it was embarrassing. They all like one guy was like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait for that rematch." Like I never wanted to. One guy goes, "Oh, I don't think I've ever been more excited for a rematch than that one." Like, really? Any rematch in history? That's the one you want?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And not to mention, like, Joaquin Buckley, like, could have arguably lost that fight. I think it was a split.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
He fought
it was an okay fight.
It wasn't like he got knocked out in 30 seconds and he was like, I want that back. Joaquin fought his fucking ass off. Like, he's not taking that again. Like, that. I agree with you big time there.
Yeah, and like 10 years from now, you ask me who won that fight, I'm not gonna remember it. People are saying like that's the fight. The rematch I've been waiting for years. And the other one, dude, seriously, your kid wants to go to Olive Garden out of all the places to go in the world. He wants to go to Olive Garden. Didn't your kid learn from Sijara Eubanks to stay away from Olive Garden?
Those carbs, man.
Yeah, Sijara's there right now, just getting the endless breadsticks.
Jesus, wouldn't surprise me.
I actually like Olive Garden. If they want to be a sponsor of the show, I will eat. I'll eat the breadsticks with a nice red wine or whatever. Do you have any dude seriously?
You know, there was actually a lot on this card. You could say, dude, seriously about Damon Jackson's game plan. But I think you gotta probably go with Raquel Pennington and Vieira. Like, seriously, Pennington, like, your corner. When I watch these fights, I like to listen to the corners because I'm like, oh, this is what I think I would say if I was in the corner. This is what I'm reading. And like, not one, like, she was losing in the clinch, winning on the feet, and her corner was just like, how do you not make that read? Like, you guys, I'm sitting on my fucking couch. Like, I'm sitting on my couch. I ate a burger watching the fights, made that read eating a burger, you know? Like, so if I could do that, I don't understand why her corner can't. And that's one thing where that was a hair pull moment, because I think she could have won that fight even clearer. And I arguably thought she lost.
Rick Allen's right. The rematch that everybody really needs is Shillan versus Irons too.
Yeah. Also, dude, seriously, is the UFC going to the way that the Jon Jones and Ciryl Gane fight got leaked?
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, we should just like what's the name of that? I'm sorry, what's the name of that arena there? And
the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas.
Like seriously, like
I'm a fucking Megatron, man.
Yeah, like no one said, hey, I honestly, I wonder if that is a negotiation. What's the word, like, tactic to get Francis Ngannou to sign. And kind of, I don't know. That was really. I mean, this isn't like the first big fight the UFC's been booking for. It just seems really, really weird. Anyways, like no one's gonna see that in Vegas, the fight capital, and you're having an event. You know, I don't know, just really weird.
Of course, someone just takes their phone out and start taking pictures and shit. Another thing that just got announced, I guess you could say, dude, seriously, it looks like we're on for Usman and Edwards 3. That just got booked.
Yeah, I know. That's and there was rumors of other fights, but I'm glad they got that one done.
Yeah.
What is the grade?
Oh gosh, I mean, if you were a junkie and you hadn't had your fix in an hour, you know, you'd call it okay. But if you were a junkie and you hadn't had your fix in 3 weeks and someone gave you what you were looking for, you might be a little happier about it. And that's kind of how I define this card. Because if you're in here, if you're watching, like, we all get high on this shit. Like, I love MMA. This is, you know, like, this is something I live for. You could have gave me anything and I would have taken it tonight. Give me a B.
So we've talked about doing drugs and slapping our children. That's our recap show. I got like a C+. There was nothing spectacular. There were some really good finishes. Ranking wise, nothing really changed. Not all the storylines coming out of this, so that kind of why we still went almost 2 hours talking about stuff, but we had to go to the weeds a little bit to get some stories. So, all right, always the hardest question. Who's the listener of the night?
We didn't get to the chat too much tonight, unfortunately. Alan McDonald's OG. He's always here. I liked a lot of what he had to say. He was very active tonight. My pick's gonna go to Alan.
Yeah, I'm gonna double up with Alan. I posted a lot of Alan's comments on the screen. It is a little different when me and Ben do it than when me and you do it. We kind of both go back and forth to the posting. So I could have paid a little bit more attention than I could. Like, it's kind of like doubles the amount we can get to. Unfortunately, you don't have that access. I'm gonna put you on the spot. I want 5-second answers, and then me and Ben will give our answers later on. On the spot, Dev. Who's winning the flyweight title on next Saturday? David Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno 4. Who's the champion?
I was thinking about this, literally sitting on the toilet earlier. I'm going Brandon Moreno.
Okay. And main event, light heavyweight championship, Glover Teixeira. New England's own Glover Teixeira. Jamal Hill. Who's winning the title?
Old man's taking that belt home to Connecticut.
All right. There you have it. Me and Ben will be giving our picks and be posted Monday morning. Dev, thank you so much for filling in again. He is the man. He did the show on Strickland. He got the victory. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. UFC 2, what number is it? 285, something like that, I think. I don't know what number it is, but pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's a good one. We'll be back. We'll be recapping. It'll be me and Ben. We have our preview. Thank you, Dav. Guys, like, share, do all that good stuff. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.